What is up, Pacer Nation? Welcome to the Pacer Pulse podcast, the heartbeat of Indiana basketball.
Welcome, welcome.
And today I wanted to do another installment of the Pacers What If. And I did one last week where I did what if the Pacers land a top 4 pick in the 2026 NBA draft. And what I kind of explained in that one was that with the Pacers What If series, I can go future, past, present. Doesn't matter. There's not really any limitations on it. That's what I love about it. So for today's Pacers What If series episode, I'm going to do what if Haliburton doesn't get hurt in Game 7 of the NBA Finals last year. And anytime I talk about our playoff run, our Game 7, just anytime I talk about that to friends or whoever, I always say how it was almost like our highest point of it, like as our team history, I would say, but also our lowest because of what happened to Haliburton. So it's just such a polarizing thing in our history because obviously it was the highest of highs that we've ever reached, but then it was almost one of our biggest lows because of the injury. And obviously the malice at the palace is our biggest low in franchise history. But I don't know. That one's pretty close to me because it was just such a devastating injury. And to see our franchise guy get hurt on the biggest stage where it looked like he was about to have an explosive game. And I don't think I'm alone in saying this, that my biggest what if is if he doesn't get hurt, do we end up winning Game 7 in Oklahoma City in the NBA Finals? And I'm going to go ahead and say I think we do. And I wanted to kind of go down what I think would have happened or just kind of like talk it out as to what if we would end up winning, because Tyrese, he started off the game red hot. He was already hit like 3 threes, I think, before he got hurt. And you could already tell like he was going to have a magical performance. And just that took the wind out of our sails whenever he got hurt. And the fact that we were even close at halftime, even after his injury, was pretty huge. And I just wonder if he didn't get hurt and we end up winning Game 7 and just the way his game was trending in that game, I don't know. Like, what if we would have upset Oklahoma City, who were pretty much the heavy favorites and even more so this year? But it blows my mind to think about because if we would have won and if Tyrese didn't get hurt, how would we be talking about Tyrese now, like the NBA as a whole? And honestly, I think he would almost be close to like the face of the NBA. And maybe that's me being a homer, me being dramatic, but I know like even just from what was it, a couple years ago during like the NBA Cup, whenever he went on that huge tear and they were really highlighting Haliburton, I think this would have put it over the top and it would have solidified his status as like a top 5 to 10 player in the NBA for sure, in my opinion. I mean, I think you would have no argument against it at that point. And I think that they obviously, like the league would be looking at the Thunder differently right now. They'd be looking at us differently. And I think that if Haliburton didn't get hurt, I think we would have won that Game 7. And if we would have won, that would have been the most improbable run by a team in NBA history to win a title. I'm going to go ahead and say that now. And I don't think anybody would refute that because in no way, shape, or form did anybody ever pick us to win almost any series, I feel like. Maybe besides like against Milwaukee. But other than that, everyone picked Cleveland to beat us. I mean, people, I'm sure, picked New York to beat us. And the fact that we beat the odds, essentially, proved everybody wrong. Had so many clutch performances by Haliburton, by Neesmith. You know, just guys hitting clutch shots, and especially Haliburton. But I'm thinking of Neesmith in that, I forget which game it was against the Knicks, where he just went nuclear and hit every single three to even bring us back within that game. And then Haliburton hits the game winner. That's just something I'll never forget. But there is no way that wouldn't have been the most improbable NBA championship run in the league's history. And I just can only imagine what it would have been like if Haliburton didn't get hurt and we won, how we'd be viewed in the league, how we would easily be up there like as like the Thunder Slayers. Like people would be like, oh, but yeah, the Thunder are this great team, but the Pacers beat them. Like they had their numbers somehow or they figured them out. It would just really have changed the conversation almost to the entire NBA landscape. I mean, how would teams go about team building if we would have won? Because I mean, yes, we had Miles Turner, but a lot of times we were playing Obi Toppin in like crunch time minutes, the clutch minutes. So would teams still have been trying to do this double big lineups that they're doing now, just because the Thunder won with like Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren? Maybe they still would have. I don't know, or maybe they would have looked at us. Like there's already teams been mimicking us in terms of our full court pressure and playing 10 deep. Plus, you see a lot of teams playing like very far into their benches now. And I think that really started with us and even the Thunder, of course, too. But that really highlighted how deep the league is now. But I think teams would have really tried to mimic us even more than they already kind of are now. And the fact that we would have changed the league, we would have flipped it on its head. And I think it would have gave a lot of small franchises hope. And even though OKC is a small franchise, I'm just saying, like, I think it would almost give all these teams a thought like, oh wow, like anything is possible. Look what the Pacers did, the most improbable run in NBA history. And like I said, I think Haliburton, he would have been viewed easily as like a top 10 guy in the NBA. I mean, how could you put him? You could put him behind Jokic, Giannis, Shea, I guess, and then Luca. I'm probably forgetting somebody right now. Wemby maybe, but other than that, like I think he would be viewed as like a top 7 player. So I'm giving a little wiggle room because I'm probably forgetting names, but I think that's how high he would be valued. And I know he's showing that this year too with his injury right now. Given that's what actually did happen, he got hurt. But in this what if, man, I think it would have just changed everything, and I think he would have gotten. I mean, he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but almost that run in itself would have like solidified it because it was just such a miraculous run. I mean, they could have made a movie about that run if we end up winning the finals. I mean, it was just a crazy, crazy run, and there was just so many people, I think, that even were starting to, like, get behind us in that sense because we were such underdogs all the time. And like I said, he would have been viewed different. How would we view Pascal Siakam now? Because 2 titles with 2 different teams. I mean, I don't know how many times that's happened in NBA history where some guys have won multiple championships. If they're not like just a rotation player. I mean, like an actual star player on the team or like a top 3 option like he was in Toronto. I mean, he would be viewed as easily a top 20 player right now, and I think he still is regardless of what other people may think or believe. But he would definitely be viewed in a higher light. All our other guys, there would be no discussion about if we should retain Matherin because he was so crucial in Game 3 of the finals and in some other games. Nimhard, of course, Neesmith. We Who knows? Maybe we would have even brought back Miles Turner if we won, even if he still had a rough finals all around. Who knows? Maybe the team would have just paid him the money they should have paid him, I guess, or whatever ended up happening with those negotiations. Maybe they wouldn't have hesitated to really pay him more money, which let me be clear. I'm glad we didn't. I'm glad we didn't compared because of what's happening this year and how he's playing for Milwaukee. But it would have made sure we definitely would have made sure to bring back the entire team, essentially. And I think we easily would have been a top 2 to 3 team in the league this year if Haliburton didn't get hurt, coming off a championship. I think that also I already know that like if we would have won the title, nobody would have bet on us to repeat as champions. We can go ahead and say that right now. I know that wouldn't have happened. Nobody would have thought, "Oh, Pacers can win this again." Nah, there's no way. I don't think. And people still believe in OKC, and of course, for obvious reasons, they're so loaded. And maybe they would have thought of our win as like a fluke. And you just never know what excuses they would have made. And I think that teams would have really, really probably went after trying to win a lot harder if we would have won, if that makes sense. Like we already seen some teams make moves and whatnot, but I think like we already seen Orlando make a big swing, which maybe they were encouraged by what they saw from us already. But I think you would have saw other teams being like, "Hey, like Indiana won, we have a shot at this." Like the Thunder aren't this impenetrable team, and honestly, even after last year, they still aren't. Like I know they're amazing this year; they've only lost 1 game, but they went to Game 7 against the Nuggets and us. I mean, it's not like they're unbeatable. You know what I mean? And no matter how historic of a run they're on right now and what they could possibly be on, the fact that we took them to Game 7, and honestly, it took an injury from our best player to help them win that game, I would say. Not trying to sound biased at all. That's where I'm like, all right, maybe I need to dial it back. Maybe they would have just, maybe Halliburton would have slowed down at some point. I don't know. It's just when you've watched Halliburton so much as a Pacer fan and like whenever he has it and whenever he's going to have it all night, I just think he was on pace for that kind of night. And it just would have been so magical. It would have. And that's why, like, it's so devastating that he did get hurt and that we're on the path that we are right now. Even though there is some silver linings in the fact that we might get a top 5 pick, which is always amazing to have, but I don't think anybody obviously would have traded what we have now for what could have happened if Haliburton didn't get hurt and if we would have won the finals. And it would have been unforgettable. And it would have impacted the league in a major way. And we would have been talked about, honestly, maybe not one of the greatest teams of all time, but it would have been one of those teams that, like, everybody would never forget, if that makes sense, because of just how improbable it was. Nobody ever expected us to be there. And the fact that we took the Thunder, who were the heavy favorites pretty much all year, and beat them in Game 7 in Oklahoma City, that we would have been talked about for the rest of NBA history, I would say. I mean, they would always refer to us and just be like, look what the Pacers did back in 2024, 2025 season. And I think that we would have been a reference point for a lot of things, and it would have been a timeless team that nobody would have ever forgotten. And even though now it kind of feels like we've been somewhat forgotten because of what's happened this year, the Haliburton injury, it's really kind of put us out of that limelight, of course. And I get it because we're like 6-18, so we don't deserve that right now. But we don't get the love that we really deserve, I think. And especially from the national media, it's almost this. I know like Thunder have been amazing, but they just keep getting talked about and talked about and talked about, and we have nothing to talk about, honestly, because we're so bad right now. But man, I just hope that we can come back next year and really silence everybody, or like at least perk people back up again to the thought of, oh, the Pacers, we forgot this legitimate team, even though we're kind of an afterthought right now. But I know that's how we play at our best when we're underdogs like that. So I don't know. That's like the biggest what if to me in our team's history. It's just there's so many different things that could have happened from it if he would have not gotten hurt. I think we win that game. And Tyrese is a top 7 player in the NBA. Siakam top 20. I mean, historically Siakam would have been viewed in a whole different light too, winning titles on 2 different teams. That's a rare feat. I think LeBron, he might be the only one that's, well, I know like Robert Horry and those guys, they have with like 5 or 6 different teams. So I mean, I know there's some teams, granted that, or some players, excuse me, that have. I'm talking like star level, not just like role players that kind of lucked into it. And he would have been viewed in such a different light, and he deserves it so much for what he's done for our team. And it's kind of a shame he might not make an All-Star team this year, but he definitely would have been guaranteed an All-Star this year if Haliburton didn't get hurt. Haliburton would have been an All-Star, probably both All-NBA players, possibly. I mean, you never know what's going to happen in a season, but coming off a finals win, if Haliburton didn't get hurt, I think that would have been in the cards. And honestly, especially with how the East has shook out this year, I think if Haliburton didn't get hurt and we won the title, we would have been the favorites to come out of the East again. And I don't think that's a highly debatable topic to really bring up or like say, because look at the East right now. I mean, yeah, you have Detroit who's on the up cut, like they're on the up and up, but like Milwaukee's obviously taking a lot of steps back. Who else? Philly. I mean, they're okay. The Cavaliers have been pretty bad. New York's not. I mean, they're good, I guess, but I wouldn't be afraid of them in a playoff series if we had Haliburton still and Siakam and us coming off a chip and just the way we play and the camaraderie we had already, and then bringing back the same team, the chemistry. Yeah, no, I would have took us in any series, honestly, even against the Magic after they got Desmond Bane. I think we could have beat them. Yeah, I just think we would have repeated as conference champions and would have made it to the finals again. I truly believe that. And I don't know, let's say we would repeat, and maybe it would probably be the Thunder and us again. But I think that we definitely would have made another run at the finals. And I really don't think that's in question, especially with how weak the East is right now. And that's why I have every hope in the world that when Tyrese does come back, he comes back 100%. we can get back to where we were and make it back to the finals. But that's there's just so many branches that this what if created. It created so many different branches, and it caused our team to go in a different direction with Miles, which may have been the best move. But obviously, if like Haliburton didn't get hurt, it would have made sense to bring him back in the same breath as well. But then we have Matherin, which maybe that's going to be a blessing in disguise because how awesome he's been. So that's kind of another what if that this created. Where what if like Nimhard and them didn't get this opportunity to show their growth? Matherin this year because of Haliburton being healthy, even though obviously we would take him being healthy and winning the title, and he would have won a Finals MVP for sure. So imagine him winning that too. How of a different light that would have painted him in. But maybe we wouldn't have got the opportunity to see these guys grow more, even if we even needed it. But who knows if we would have even thought about bringing Matherin back. I think we're going to no matter what because we would have paid Miles Turner, which I think, as we're seeing now, would have been a mistake, like I said. And who knows what we would have done with other guys. Maybe we wouldn't do any trades. Maybe Jarris and Shepard wouldn't be in these huge slumps that they're in because they're outplaying any sort of expectations that they probably would have had coming in if Haliburton would have been healthy. And there's just so many different what ifs, like I said, that's created even after that happening. So I don't know. It's my favorite what if in Pacers history, of course. I think everybody's because I don't think I've ever enjoyed watching basketball as much as I did last season. And I don't think I've ever had such a low of watching basketball as I did in the game 7 with seeing Haliburton go down. And it's going to be our biggest what if ever in team history. I mean, I'm going to cover other what ifs too in future episodes, but this one by far was like my number one where, all right, I want to talk about this because it's just, there's so many different paths that it could have went on if Haliburton didn't get hurt. Like, what if he did not get hurt? And what if we would have won the title then? And I really think that was a possibility. And I'm not the only one that said that. I mean, other Pacer fans, but even some national media guys. I'm pretty sure I heard Bill Simmons once, don't quote me on that, where he was like questioning if we wouldn't have won. Or I know I've heard on another podcast somewhere, but well, I know we weren't the only ones, Pacer Nation, that thought we would have won. I think a lot of people kind of had that feeling too and saw like how special Tyrese was about to be in that game. And just so devastating. But that would always be our biggest what if. And I don't know, Pacer Nation. it's hard to even think about or like look back on because it was, like I said, it was my favorite time ever watching this team, and I think everybody else would agree. But also after that happening, it was also one of the worst times, and it's something you never want to see. Obviously, your best player going down in a Game 7 to win a championship, our franchise's first ever NBA championship, as a matter of fact. First time we've been to the finals since 2020, or not 2020, excuse me, 2000. So, I mean, over 20 years, 24 years of not being in the NBA finals, and we finally made it back, and that's what happens. And now we're seeing this year with all the other injuries that are happening. I don't know. It just seems kind of crazy to me. This is how it shook out. And maybe injuries would have still happened even if we won. But honestly, it would have been much easier to digest than what happened after the finals and Haliburton getting hurt. And it's just, I'll never just not think about that team. It's always going to have a special place in my heart, just like they still do now. And I know we're going to be looking to make upgrades to get back to that level. And I fully believe in this team. I fully believe that Tyrese is going to get back to 100%. He's going to be back to his level, the same level of Tyrese where, you know, he's averaging 18 points, 11 assists a game, just creating some of the most easy shot opportunities for guys like Nesbitt, Nimhard, Matherin, whatever center we bring in, Siakam. Just our offense is going to be electric like it was. Guys are going to have that fire in them again like we had before. Because this year you could just tell that spark has kind of left. And maybe losing does that. That's why I worry about losing this year. But I really do think if like Haliburton didn't get hurt and we won the finals, we would make it to the finals again this year. I truly believe that, barring no major injuries, but I think that would have happened. And we would have repeated as conference champions. And would I say we'd win the finals again? I don't know. I don't know, Pacer Nation. Beating the Thunder twice like that. I don't know. That seems like a tough proposition. I don't know about that, but either way, we would have cemented ourselves as one of the most, what do you wanna call it, underdog teams in NBA history to win a title, and I don't think there's any mistake in that, and even though we didn't win, it would be awesome to see some sort of documentary over that one day. Just that such an improbable run and, like, the way it ended, it literally just the whole time felt like a movie just watching it. It really did. That's how magical it was, and it's almost like at times the run wasn't even real. Some of the buzzer beaters Tyrese was hitting was just out of this world. That insane shooting run that Neesmith went on. Nimhard just locking down Shea Gilgeous-Alexander for most of the series. Obviously, Shea was getting his own still, but he made it very hard on him, and probably the hardest we've seen anybody really guard Shea, and the most we've seen him struggle because he just gets his own so easily, and he gets all the foul baiting and stuff too, or whatever you want to call it. Props to him on that, I guess. But I have no ill will towards the Thunder. I just think that we would have won that if Haliburton didn't get hurt. And I know I've said that a gazillion times already, but I fully believe it. I do. So this is my second installment of the Pacers What If. So it was what if Tyrese Haliburton didn't get hurt in the finals last year, and if we would have won, if we wouldn't have, if how that would have cemented his legacy in the NBA, Siakam's legacy, what our team would be right now. Would we be the heavy favorites to make it to the finals again if he didn't get hurt? Would we honestly, could we have run the Eastern Conference for quite a few years? I'm not saying like dynasty level, but how many teams would you really truly believe in that could take us down? I mean, maybe the Celtics, I guess. I don't know, like the Knicks. I don't think they really match up well against us. So, and especially with how young we are and how much we're going to improve over time, even with that continuity as well. Who's to say we wouldn't have like controlled the East for the next 4 years or so if Halliburton doesn't get hurt and we won the title? And I think that's a very huge possibility, and it still could be. I mean, when he comes back, it could very well be the case. He comes back, we have a top 3 to 4 pick. We trade for a starting center, and we're reloaded up. We re-sign Matherin, and we're ready to go again. Maybe it's as simple as that, and I don't see, barring any like major trades at least in the Eastern Conference, what other teams are really going to be up there with us when Tyrese comes back. I mean, Detroit, of course, they're young and they're going to get better. I mean, other than that, everybody else is just a toss-up to me. I mean, Boston, of course, when they get Tatum back, I guess, and the way Jaylen Brown's been playing this year, and some of their younger guys that are getting big opportunities. Atlanta, I guess. I mean, they'll be a little better. Orlando. But I'm not, like, scared of those teams, especially if Halliburton's 100% and Siakam's still the same Siakam. And then if you're adding, like, a top pick to that, along with Matherin, Nimhard, Neesmith, Murphy, I mean, whatever happens with Walker and Shepard, and you got Jay Huff backing up the new starting center, whether that be a Walker Kessler, a Zubac, or a Daniel Gafford, whoever they bring in. I don't know. I think we have a very real chance to be in that conversation right off the get-go, even if it takes Haliburton a little bit of time to reacclimate and get used to the game again, the speed and all that, which we know it's going to. I mean, that's human nature, of course. You're coming off a major injury. But it's been very encouraging to see at least how Isaiah Jackson's recovered from his Achilles. And I know he's probably not fully 100% yet, but he still looks pretty good out there. So it's encouraging to see just how well I think Tyrese is going to be able to recover. And maybe it's just an injury that isn't a death sentence to people anymore in the NBA. Since it's happened so many times now with Kevin Durant, Isaiah Jackson, James Wiseman even looked okay when he came back. So there's some silver linings, Pacer Nation, but the biggest what if I will ever think with this team for the rest of my life probably is, what if he didn't get hurt? And if that would have led us to a championship? And would we be talking about our team in such a different light? I think people would say we're the heavy favorites in the East just about every year for as long as Tyrese is on the team. Haliburton's still playing at a high level. We have all these guys under contract still. If we're able to keep the team together and have them grow together, I think the sky's the limit for that. But I'm still not giving up hope, Pacer Nation, and we can't either. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this second episode of Pacers What If. And I'm going to be doing it every week until I just run out of what ifs, I guess. But that's what I like about it. It's so endless, and it just really gets you thinking on whatever could have happened. It's fun to kind of reminisce on, even if it was a bad memory, but also a great memory at the same time about the finals and that run. And even though I'm not saying it was a great memory of seeing Haliburton get hurt, but just that run in general, just the way the team fought and played, that's something we can never forget as fans. And I hope you guys just really enjoyed it as much as I did. And we're going to come back next year better than ever with Haliburton. And I really appreciate you guys listening, Pacer Nation. And I will talk to you soon.